Good morning, welcome to CATEX-TV. My name is Frank Fortunato. This is a live broadcast from Princeton, New Jersey. Today is Monday, May 17, 2010. It's 11:30 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time in the U.S. It's 4:30 p.m. in London. And Mexico City, it's 10:30 a.m. If you need to reach us during the broadcast, you can phone in toll-free at 1-866-67-CATEX. Overseas, our AOL Instant Mail address is CATEX-TV. And before we go to our stories, we have a story that just came in. This is an unusual dateline, Rockville Center, New York. It's out on Long Island, but you'll understand in a second why we're mentioning it. ARAN Insurance Services Group, ARAN, which is run by two good friends of ours, Tim Kenny, the executive chairman of ARAN, and John LaCava, who's the CEO of ARAN, both former QB America's people. They're a provider of insurance and financial services out in Rockville Center. They announced this morning its acquisition of Health Reinsurance Management Partnership, which is a specialty healthcare company based in Danvers, Massachusetts, and Minico Insurance Agency, a Phoenix, Arizona-based provider of specialty insurance products. This is the first of a series of strategic moves by which ARAN will be positioned as a leading provider of specialty insurance and financial products. It's actually a fairly seminal announcement because here we have, for one of the first times, a real good litmus test of two very well qualified reinsurance professionals who have left a large company and are striking out on their own to try to see how the MGA business can be improved upon. So we'll be following these folks very closely, and we wish them the best. It's certainly a harbinger of the future and the way things are running in London anyway. Well, we'll go to our main news. The main news, and for somebody who's facing a Delta Airlines flight Saturday night from Kennedy to London Heathrow, this is getting a little close to home. Here's today's map. This is the great ash situation. Let's look at this closely. On the top right-hand side, you can see the cloud of ash that has drifted now to the northeast over the British Isles, completely clearing that airspace and moving into Nordic airspace. Yesterday was a madhouse in England. Large parts of Britain were experiencing the ash cloud. Air traffic controllers imposed a no-fly zone in northern England that included Manchester, Liverpool, and the East Midlands airports. Also all of Northern Ireland and some Scottish airports. Many of the airports are open today. As of this morning, Heathrow is open. However, there are delays that are widely backed up. If you go to flightaware.com and type in a flight between Heathrow and Kennedy, you'll see count them, four planes currently making the trek over. Usually at this time of day, there are as many as 16. The Civil Aviation Authority in London said that the threat from the cloud would continue at least until tomorrow. Of course, tomorrow is a day when 11,000 British Airways cabin crew are beginning to strike. There were predictable reactions. Airlines reacted angrily. Sir Richard Branson of Virgin Atlantic called the closure of the Manchester airport beyond a joke. He accused air traffic chiefs of overreacting and called on the government to intervene to avoid doing further unnecessary damage to the UK economy and lives of travelers. He's referring, of course, to last month's closure. Yesterday, Branson said that it's plain that airplanes cannot fly safely through the mouth of a volcano. However, the volcano in this case is hundreds of miles away from England. Over 1,000 flights took off from France last week in similar conditions to that which exist in Manchester today without encountering any problems. EasyJet, which is one of Europe's largest short-haul carriers, also agreed with Branson. They said, we've operated more than 20,000 flights and we've detected no problems in any flights. The government, for its part, said that the airline industry is engaged in a fantastic piece of buck passing by blaming safety regulators for years-old volcanic ash guidelines that stated avoid, avoid, and avoid when airplanes encounter smoke plumes. Well, I don't know about you, but when I'm at Kennedy Airport on Saturday night, if there's an ash cloud anywhere, I hope we stay put. I prefer not to be experimenting with Chairman Branson's, well, it's not safe to fly into the mouth of a volcano, but anything else is fine. That's not so good. Well, the oil situation in the Gulf of Mexico, we did finally have some movement. The toll is beginning to be felt, though. Here's a picture of a completely oil-encrusted seabird being worked on by a number of people. In the back, you can't really see him, is Department of the Interior head Ken Salazar. Yesterday, British petroleum engineers finally succeeded in doing something. They dropped a mile-long tube down which connected to the opening of the gushing hole. The tube is funneling a little bit more than 1,000 barrels of crude oil a day from that blown well. It's going up into a tanker ship on the surface. However, here's the however, both BP and the Coast Guard estimate that anywhere between 5,000 barrels and 210,000 gallons, actually the Coast Guard and the company estimate that about 5,000 barrels a day have been spewing out. So they've managed to get a hold on 20% of it. However, that means that 80% of it are still coming out, and there are also millions of gallons of oil already floating about in the Gulf of Mexico. BP is going to work over the next few days to try to increase the flow from that one pipe. They're moving very slowly because they don't want to hit the ice-like crystals that doomed the previous dome containment effort. There's also been a report that computer models are showing that the oil may have already seeped into a powerful water stream known as the loop current. The loop current propels water from the Gulf of Mexico out into the Atlantic Ocean. According to a gentleman who is the dean of the University of South Florida's College of Marine Science, this is a very sensitive area. We're concerned what will happen with the oil in the Florida Keys. British Petroleum is saying that thus far, the oil is at least 3 miles from the loop current. The scientists are saying that that's dangerously close. British Petroleum is also saying that the oil will be less damaging to the Florida Keys because it will have traveled over hundreds of miles by the time it reaches there. So this is an ongoing problem, a catastrophe. Well, here's a real catastrophe. An Afghan passenger plane carrying 44 people, including 6 people from England, crashed today in a mountainous northern region. Bad weather apparently was the cause. The crash site is about 12,700 feet up in the Salang Pass, which is a route through the Hindu Kush. The plane was from Pamir Airways. It was traveling from Kunduz to Kabul. The plane was an Antonov 27 fixed-wing plane. The Antonov 27 was last produced in Russia in 1979, which is some 31 years ago. There was an explosion at a coal mine in northern Turkey this morning. It's trapped up to 25 miners underground. The blast took place at the Karadon mine up along the Black Sea near the city of Zonguldak. There was no immediate word on its cause. It was the 3rd mine accident in Turkey in the past 6 months. The government says that they're trying to reach the missing miners. Back in February, a methane gas explosion exploded at a mine in Turkey, killing 13 workers. And if you woke up this morning, the first thing you saw on the TV news was the fact that the Asian stock markets fell sharply overnight while we were sleeping. Japan's benchmark Nikkei 225 dropped about 207 points, losing 2% of its value. Markets in Australia, South Korea, China, and Hong Kong all dropped. Of course, it was all a reaction to what was going on in Europe and the United States towards the end of last week. The stock market in New York is following suit now. It opened a little bit even and a little bit up, but now it's down about 82 points or so. Finally, this is interesting news before we go into the break. Here's 2 words you don't hear in the same paragraph, or certainly the same sentence. General Motors said that it earned $865 million in the first quarter, its first profit since 2007. It saw its revenue increase 40%. Said it had positive cash flow of $1 billion for the quarter and a total of about $36 billion in cash and securities on hand as of the end of the quarter. The company earned $1.2 billion before interest and taxes in North America. In the fourth quarter, GM lost $3.4 billion in North America. Worldwide, GM earned $1.7 billion before interest and taxes.